Hello?
We're good to begin when y'all are.
Okay, we're in.
Is everybody in? Richard, is everybody in that needs to be in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning. The October 14th Construction Advisory and Appeals Board meeting of the City of Los Angeles now called to order. This meeting is being conducted via teleconference to abide by county, state, and federal recommendations to limit in-person gatherings to help slow the spread of the coronavirus. We thank you for your understanding. Due to the format of this meeting, we will begin today with a roll call to confirm all members of the Construction Advisory and Appeals Board are present and able to participate in our considerations. Board members, when I call your name, will you please respond in the affirmative if you are present? Ronnie Rice.
Here.
David Jacobs.
Here.
Dustin Eberhardt.
Present.
Earl Raybon.
Here.
Dustin Sullivan.
Present.
Nathan McKinley.
Here.
Don Francis.
Here.
Michael Ginch. Michael Ginch.
Michael is on the meeting. He's logged in. It's showing that he's self-muted. Michael, there should be a red button with a microphone on your screen. That's how you'll unmute yourself. So Michael is logged into the meeting, but is still currently self-muted.
So is there, okay, so am I supposed to count him at present? I'll say
I would
muted.
Shirley on that.
Jim Hugman. We will now do a roll call of the city staff. Director of Development Services, Michael Shirley.
Present.
Assistant Director of Development Services, Ingrid Self. Ingrid Self.
Ingrid was connected. It looks like she just got booted off the meeting. Perhaps she had a bad connection. I'm sure she'll be back.
Ingrid, if she comes back on, please bring it to my attention. Building official Todd Keyball.
Here.
We now have to reach the citizens' comment portion of our meeting. Those wishing to participate in citizen comment today were invited to access this meeting through a link to register with the teleconferencing application. This portion of citizen comment are comments made other than the public hearing items that we have on the agenda. If you wish to speak on an item on the agenda, please wait until that time to speak. Richard Yakley is coordinating the technical side of the meeting and will assist with moderating the citizen comment portion of our meeting. When you are called to speak, you will be unmuted and given one opportunity to speak. Please begin by stating your name and address for the public record. If you are also watching a live stream of this meeting through CityView Municipal Television, please mute it to avoid feedback. Richard, do we have any residents who want to speak today?
Jim, there are no residents currently registered to speak at this time. I would note that board member Michael Ginch did look like he logged back in, and he does seem to have his audio connected at this time.
I figured out you have to do stuff to your phone to see the button.
That's correct. Yes, so he is on.
Okay, I did not know that. Everybody keeps talking about the red button, and there's nothing on my phone that's a red button. So I was yelling at y'all the whole time. Jim Hugman was laughing at me for having myself self-muted, but I didn't do it myself.
I wasn't laughing at you. That must have been city staff.
We are sorry about the technical difficulty and glad you made it on the meeting. There are no residents looking to speak at this time, Mr. Hugman.
Okay, thank you. Public hearing. We are now on to item 4, the public hearing portion of the meeting. A public hearing will be held to consider the Unified Development Code. Michael Shirley, Director of Development Services, please give your presentation.
Thank you, members of the commission. This is the third meeting that we've had on this item. The first 2 meetings, we had discussion and presentation, and rather than go back over the entire presentation, I would just like to just give a brief overview as far as Unified Development Code and the role of the Construction Advisory and Appeals Board in that. That the UDC is, the purpose of it is to strengthen and streamline all of our development and construction related codes, primarily the building and safety codes that are the purview of the advisory commission. Those we're not making any significant changes to other than streamlining and our contractor types and some of the bonding requirements there, and then just streamlining some of the language to make it fit into the UDC. But the actual construction codes that are published by ICC, none of those code families or code manuals are changing. All of the amendments, everything are staying the same. We're basically repealing and readopting as they were, just integrated into the Unified Development Code. I would be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Does the board have any questions for staff on this item? When asking a question, please state your name for the staff and the record. Any comment? If anybody's been having trouble, I'm going to proceed on, but let me know. I think you'll have additional opportunities. I will now open the public hearing. Are there any in support of this request?
No one registered at this time.
Okay. So there will be no one in opposition.
That is correct.
Any additional, and I guess this next portion is for the public also. If no more additional comments, I'll close the public hearing. I will now entertain a motion. When making a motion, please state your name for staff. So is there a time for board comments? Was there a time for board comments?
Yes, if there's any questions or comments before the motion, y'all are more than welcome to make those or have any discussion.
Let me quickly go through the group and see, make sure. Ronnie Rice, do you have any comments?
No, sir.
David Jacobs,
No comment.
Dustin Eberhard,
No comment.
Earl Raybon,
No comment.
Dustin Sullivan,
No comment.
Nathan McKinley,
Yeah, I do have a question. When we vote on, this deal today, are we the final process for it being ratified into, being official, or are there other committees and boards that have to vote on them as well?
So the Unified Development Code being made up of multiple different regulation families, it will require the Planning and Zoning Commission to review make a formal recommendation for those zoning related items. And then any ordinance adopted would require city council final approval before it would be enacted and put into play. So today would be strictly a recommendation from the board as the essentially the subcommittee appointed for the building and construction trades. And then Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing next week, and then it will go before City Council at the meeting in November. And then our plan would be that council would adopt it and it would become effective January 1.
Okay, great. Thank you for explaining that.
Thank you. Don Francis,
Yes, sir.
any comment?
No, sir.
Michael Gintz, do you have any comment?
Not a one.
Okay, it brings up me. I have 3 comments. One is we've done all this without any public comment at all. How have you been notifying the public?
We have sent out on our city channel, and we do our normal public notice posting processes. It will be posted in the newspaper in the next week for the council action as required. We've also had, we've sent it over through the Builders Association because they have subcommittees that have been reviewing and making recommendations. And just through our normal public posting processes.
Because, you know, City Channel now with so many people on alternative video streaming, it probably doesn't reach half the population anymore. And nobody's going to the city hall to look at posted notices. I mean,
Sure.
I think
They're posted
doing
on
is just
the web.
a good
well.
idea, but I'm just worried about public backlash because they're going to say, we didn't know about this, even though you may have technically met the litmus test.
Well, and you know, early on in the process, we had a lot of stakeholder meetings to gather their input. And so, you know, we had multiple stakeholder meetings where we gave presentations. We had meetings where we gathered information through a variety of mediums. And then the whole time it's been subject to discussion and comment. And so the document is really a culmination of that feedback, both from stakeholder meetings, our comprehensive plan. You know, I think we had a meeting with one of the meetings that you were involved in early on with the Main Street group, where we met really one-on-one with a lot of the groups and got their feedback and tried to implement as much of that as possible.
But y'all have done what you can under the circumstances. I just want to raise my hand and say, you know, there's the fact that there's not been a single person come makes me wonder if there's not a gap in the communication. Second, the UDC in corporate, if going to the notes that Ingrid sent out, Article B zoning regulations, it talks about the zoning regulations regulating architectural elements. And
yes,
I'm not for that. That is,
yeah,
because the areas that was brought up as downtown, there's a lot of downtown preliminary requirements that we saw in that meeting. A lot of things existing downtown would not meet the requirements.
sure. And so a lot of the architectural stuff has been taken out because of state law that dictated that in the last session, kind of in between some of those meetings. Now, there are some exceptions to that as allowable in that state law change, dealing with some of the historic districts and so forth. And so some of that is still in there, but those are guidelines and recommendations for new construction. So when you're talking about existing structures that are in a historic district, then there's the Preservation Commission that would have oversight too. And so the purpose for that is so that in those districts, we don't have someone come in and do something so drastically different that would take away from it and have some continuity. But there's always case for if somebody came in and wanted to do something that didn't fit, there's always an appeal process, depending on whether it's in the zoning or whether it's in the building and construction, on what board that would go to, whether it be this board or the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Okay. And then you had down here in Article E, Development Standards, you updated the water line design standard to 8-inch minimum. Is that on private property? If somebody deeds a fire line onto their private property, would that apply to that fire line?
Yes, so all public or private infrastructure would be required to be a minimum 8-inch as opposed to a 6-inch.
Don, are you still there?
I am. I was
How
just
much is the difference is there between an 8-inch line and a 6-inch line?
Well, the pipe itself is $2 to $3 a foot difference, $2 a foot, I think. But then the fittings jump up significantly. And Michael, my question is to you, and I guess to the code, if we're running a single 6-inch fire hydrant line up to get in with parameters of building, it doesn't nowhere need an 8-inch water main. A 6 inches suffice.
Yeah, and one of the problems that we've ran into over and over again is when that happens, that basically stumps us from being able to extend it for future development. Because then if ever in the future you have to expand that to add an additional fire hydrant, you can only have a single fire hydrant on a dead end 6-inch line. So what that does is that enables us to be able to do dead end lines and not have to loop them in the future, which in turn saves money because you're not required to loop it. You're being allowed to do dead end lines.
Okay.
I like the idea that the flush valve's trying to get rid of the loop, but on some of the smaller projects where you're not planning on, you're building in safety that if the city would upgrade their water pressure, a lot of this wouldn't be.
Yeah, and it's not a function of the pressure, the volume. The code only allows one hydrant on a dead end 6-inch line. And so, over the last 20 years, we've seen a significant amount of projects that will use a 6-inch line, and then down the road, they've kind of stumped their toe because they didn't have the forethought, or and who knows what a future plan might look like. Everybody's kind of building for now, and then it's like, well, if we'd have only known that we could have spent $2 a foot then, versus now we're going to have to loop the line, or we're going to have to bring in another line parallel to it. And so just the heartache that it saves on the system as well, and the amount of opportunities that it provides for the future development and future expansion is one of the main purposes for that.
Yeah, but then you have places.
Jim, I'd like to reiterate that the cost of the pipe is a issue, but the fittings, when you get into adding between 6-inch and 8-inch fittings, the cost of the fittings and apparatuses that go with it, that starts just jumping pretty big. So to better answer your question on the cost difference between 6-inch and 8-inch.
Okay. So those are my three concerns. Overall, I think it's a if what you sent out, these consolidated notes, is what then it actually does, that's great. I really don't know why we're bothering getting into the on private property, making it put in more water service than they need. And then I still have concerns about making another roadblock to where if you're trying to do a project, you have to go to an appeals process to use a window that somebody wants. So, with that being said, that's my comment. If no more additional comments, I will close this hearing and now we'll entertain a motion. Please state your name for staff. Will someone make a motion to?
This is
I guess
Don.
with the
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
And who was that made the motion?
Dustin Eberhardt.
And I'll
Mike
second
Gaines,
it.
I'll second.
is that Ronnie?
Who made the
Mike Ganch, I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I will ask each commissioner member in turn for their vote. When asked, please indicate your vote by saying yes or no. Ronnie Rice,
Yes, Ronnie Rice.
David Jacobs,
Yes, David Jacobs.
Dustin Eberhardt,
Yes.
Earl Raybon,
Yes, Earl Raybon.
Dustin Sullivan,
Yes.
Nathan McKinley,
Yes.
Don Francis,
Yes, Don Francis.
Michael Gant,
Yes, Michael Ganch.
and I'll make it unanimous. Yes, Jim Hugman. Staff will now confirm the record of the vote.
Yes, the motion was made by Dustin Eberhardt, seconded by Michael Ginch, and the vote passes unanimously 9-0.
Please note as possible, our next few construction advisory appeals board meetings will need to be conducted via teleconference like this one. Michael, do you have any idea? Have you heard when this may stop? When the city's going to be allowed?
At this point, I have not, as long as the governor's order allows for us to use teleconferencing for public meetings, I believe we will continue to do that.
So it would
And I
allow
don't know.
for it.
Do
Yeah.
what?
I said, I guess, I mean, you can go to restaurants and you can go to bars now. I don't know why we couldn't get together again. But we are adjourned.